Good morning, good morning. Hope you're having a great morning today. Of course, it's Thursday, and we're actually going to be doing a pretty fun class today. This is still part of our holiday collection of 3 classes. So we're going to use Blender to let's make a 3D snowman. Let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Alex Cooper. I teach the computer classes at the Columbia County Library in Georgia. The Harlem Library, and also Uchi Creek, now Grovetown Library with our new building and everything. So very glad about that, and very glad that you're here today. So of course I'll start off with, how can I help? Okay. Please feel free to post any questions that you have in the chat. Happy to answer any questions you have. And as you're walking in and stuff, I will say welcome to class. So this is kind of part of our holiday series, and we have one more coming up this afternoon. I'll go ahead and tell you about some of our other classes that we've had throughout this month of December. We've had some Raspberry Pi classes. We've also done a Google School. We've done the digital snowflake class, which is a lot of fun. We did some Python programming to be able to do that. And also we had a holiday gadget and gift ideas class, a cord cutting class, which is pretty important because we've actually switched to the, it's really important to watch that if you're a cord cutter, because we've actually added some new stuff on there because of some of the companies changing their pricing. Also, we had an internet shopping and digital couponing class, and we also did a gadget help on our Grovetown Facebook, Grovetown Facebook, and also on our Columbia County Library Facebook page as well. So this morning, of course, we're doing our 3D Blender. Let's make a snowman, and this afternoon at 2:30 we're going to be doing our holiday 3D Blender animate a snow scene, and that will actually bring us to the end of our classes for December and 2020. Woo! We did it! So we'll be taking the holiday break after that, and then of course we'll see you back in January with some of our classes in January, and we'll still probably be staying safe and doing our videos and stuff. Of course, we're all staying safe, so we're not having any indoor classes right now or anything, so I'm very glad that you're here joining us online. Now, also the thing is that some of the classes we'll have coming up, we'll probably be doing a cutting the cable, because there's some newer things that are happening now, and of course some folks will get some devices that they may want to learn about how to use and stuff in January too, and people get other things, like we'll probably do a gadget help in January. And also people a lot of times will get like a new camera or something, or even a new cell phone, want to take better pictures of it. So we'll probably do one of our camera classes then as well. So just keep an eye out of our website for our schedule, and hope to see you then. Also, a little side note, don't forget we've switched over from RB Digital to Libby. If you're looking for free ebooks and free audiobooks, all you need to do is download Libby. Where it says what's your library, just say Greater Clarksville Regional Library System, and then say Georgia download destination, and then put in your library code. Library card number. There you go. Our libraries are open with limited services and hours. I've just seen that some of our libraries are expanding those hours, so just check Facebook, and of course check our website as well. Curbside Holds Pickup is available. You can go to gchrl.org for details, or call in the library with questions Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates. Right now we're having our subscribe drive, so if we can get 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel, we'll get our own customized YouTube address. So if you're watching our videos, please hit subscribe. So if you're watching our videos, please hit subscribe so we can reach that goal, or you can search YouTube for GCHRL videos and you'll find our channel. All right, so let's go ahead. And what we're going to do is basically we're going to be following the tutorial that's listed. Let me go ahead and I'll post that. So if you've never used Blender before, and this is your first experience, this is actually a great one because we're basically going to be following one of the basic Raspberry Pi. And let me pull up two things here. Have anybody has any questions so far? And also, I'll talk about Blender for a minute too. Not a blender, but the software Blender. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about the Blender software a little bit. So to follow along with basically our tutorial, Blender is a free 3D model, 3D animation software. It does even go into a little bit of a movie editing too if you're interested in that. And they also have all kinds of different tutorials to get you started as well. And it's free to download. All you need to do is just go to blender.org and you can follow along with me. A lot of the times I'll talk about maybe have a video of mine maybe in a smaller device so that you can have you know, the handout and also have you know, do the project of course on the big screen so you're not kind of flipping back and forth. Make it a little bit easier. On the website they talk about their 3D rendering engine, what projects that have been created with this. I even saw a big studio trying to work on using Blender yesterday, which was pretty neat for some projects. And they talked about how easy it was even compared to one of the really big expensive ones. And of course, like I said, this is completely free. So that's what we're using today. Many small, little small art movies and stuff have been made using this, commercials, stuff like that. And it'll talk about all of that stuff. Now, if we actually go in, you'll see a part where it says training and tutorials. It'll actually list some great tutorials to get you started, and they're all YouTube videos as well, kind of systematically going through that. We're just going to kind of focus on, this is a really good one here to have the Blender fundamentals so that you can cover that part, but we're mostly just going to follow our we'll follow our tutorial here so we'll all be together on the same page. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and disappear. Bye-bye. And let's go ahead and let's pull up Blender and let's talk about our project. So mainly what we're going to be doing, this is the Raspberry Pi project, and I'm actually going to post this into our chat. So I'll do all of these here. Let's see, so we got blender.org, got the snowman, creating him, and then the second project is giving him color. Would you say putting him in color? I don't know, because we actually give the different parts of him color. All right, so let's talk about introduction here. Let's talk about what we're going to create. We're going to create our 3D snowman. So here's a little bit of a taste of what we're going to be making. So here's our snowman here. He's going to have a little hat. He's got his little nose. And we're going to go a little bit more than just this. We're going to give him some eyes and he'll have some buttons as well. Okay. But there he is right there. All decked out in 3D and we can control him and stuff. So let's talk about what we're going to learn. Project covers elements from the following standards of the Raspberry Pi digital making curriculum. We're going to talk about designing 2D and 3D. Let's talk about what we'll need. Of course, the hardwares, we'll need a computer basically running Blender, okay, or newer. And it has some stuff for educators here. Printer-friendly version of what we're going to cover. All right, so let's talk about our snowman. So let's go ahead and do the first thing. Let's open Blender. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, it's loading. So here's our Blender software. And all you need to do is just click up here where it says General. All right, so let's talk about viewing first, okay? So we'll talk about our different views, looking around and everything. So let's go ahead and let's talking about our axes. We have our Y and X here. We also have our Z. So this is how we actually look around. Now, most programs, like let's say if you're using Word, you basically have a lot of buttons that you click, but these are actually kind of unique. You actually click over here and hold left mouse button and then move your mouse around, and that allows you to move around. So I want to move around a little bit. Now, if you see this shape here, this is actually going to be our camera view. That'll come into when we're talking about rendering, okay? This is just our basic view, and they've already given us a shape, which is our square, okay? We're not in wireframe view. It actually has a solid sides on it, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about looking around, okay? So if we go up here and want to look around, all I got to do is left-click hold, and then move my mouse, and you can see that we can actually move, we're moving around to see our shape, okay? So it's usually focusing on the center, which is where our square begins, okay? Now, other thing we can do is we can actually click the X to see the X-axis, okay? The Y, okay? And also we can see Z, which is from above, okay? So these are big hints here. Where is the camera? I know it looks kind of like the same thing. This mark here is actually where our lighting is, and we'll play around with our lighting a little bit later too. But you can click here, click the X one, of course left click, left click hold here, and then you can move around. See how the camera kind of floats in midair right now? That's where we do want it. So there we go right there. Now, how do we zoom in and zoom out? Well, we go here to our magnifying glass, left click hold, and then move your mouse in, move your mouse out, and that allows us to zoom in and zoom out, okay? The hand, if we want to move around, left click hold on the hand and move your mouse, absolutely right. And then you can actually move around your view, not just turn. So using the hand, the zoom, and of course, the axes will allow you to basically see anything that's on the I guess our plateau here. Also, if you want to see what the camera sees, let's click the camera mode. That shows us exactly what the camera sees, and if we do a screenshot or render a little bit later, that's what'll come up, okay? Now, how do I see it, the different wireframes and everything like that? Well, here's the basic wireframe right there with our square, okay? We click the next button here, it'll show that it's shaded. Next one is called viewport shading, okay? And then our last one is, let's see. Yeah, I think those are the same thing. Let's see. We're shading, some of the different methods maybe. Anyway, so there's your wireframe, shaded, and viewport shading is usually what we're going to be looking at. Mainly because when we give our snowman color, one of the things that's going to happen is that if we're just on the wireframe, we won't see it unless we render, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about our basics here. Here we have our file save. Just like if this was Word, click up here, click save. It'll ask you what name you want to call it, and there you go, you're good to go, okay? Now, everything else we're going to learn is just our project base. So now we've actually learned how to look around our shapes, zoom in on our shapes, move our shapes around a little bit, and also see what the camera sees as well, okay? All right, so let's go. So we've opened Blender. For this tutorial, we will not be needing the splash screen, so we hit the general button, okay? To create a snowman, we won't need a cube. Instead, we will need to add a ball or a sphere, okay? Remove the cube by selecting the cube, pressing X, and then pressing Enter, okay? I'm actually going to do the right click. So you can click to select, and then it should kind of glow and stuff. I'm going to right click instead so we have a menu so you can visually see what I'm doing, and then go down to where it says delete, which is our X key, okay? And boom, it deletes our shape. All right, so we need to add a sphere. So let's click Add from the drop-down menu, the top left corner of the 3D view, then select Mesh UV Sphere. Okay, Mesh UV Sphere. And Add's right there. So Add Mesh UV Sphere. Okay, and then boom, there's our sphere. By adding the UV sphere, we have created a nice round bottom for the snowman. To see what it looks like, press F12, okay, to render your image. So, how can we see what the camera sees? Well, this gives us a preview if we click the camera there. But if we see a full render, we actually need to go up, and where is it on here? There it is. So we click up here where it says rendering. Okay. Oh, hang on. We need to go up here to where it says render. Sorry. Render, and then click render image. Now, actually, it uploads in a separate window, so then I have to drag it over. So there's our render. Okay. So you've rendered something. You've created the 3D image, and you want to save it. Now, our point is where the camera is. How do we control where the lighting is and all that? Now that we're in the render view, we can actually go up here and then save our picture. You can save it as anything that you want, okay? You can go here and save it as a PNG file, JPEG file, you know, and so forth, okay? All right, so let's hit the X to close that. All right, to see what it looks like, oh, we already did that. So the snowman's bottom, as it says, looks a bit too small. So let's resize the UV sphere. Press it. We already left the render view. Make sure the UV square and scale tool are selected. Then use the blue and green red handles to resize it. Okay. So we have it selected. Let's go over here to where our scale is. It's this one right here. So let's click Scale. And how do we change its size? Well, we have our blue, which stretches it. Okay. Now, anytime you make a mistake or do something that you don't want it, you can actually always go back. Just hit Edit and Undo. Okay. Let's see. Green would stretch it a different way. Red will stretch it a different way. See, it stretches it a different way, but we couldn't really see it. And then our blue stretches it that way, okay? So it's stretching it in all kinds of different directions, isn't it? So what can we do? Well, one of the things is this. So if I get on the edge, that allows me to resize it completely, okay? So if we look at it in our full view, you can see that it keeps, I hate to use the like a Photoshop term, it keeps the aspect ratio, okay? Now the other thing that you can do is you can actually hit S on the keyboard and it'll do it as well. But you have to do the outline of the sphere, okay? You'll probably notice that it's hard to get the proper shape using the handles. It might end up looking like a giant egg, for example. However, there is another way to do this. First, remove the UV sphere and add another one. Make sure your mouse is in the 3D view and the new UV sphere is selected. Okay, you can press S and it'll do the automatic resize if you want to. Now you can uniformly resize the UV sphere by just dragging the mouse. Okay. When it's as big as you want it to be, just left click to confirm the size. You can check the size of the UV sphere by rendering it. So there's our render. Sphere looks too big to resize it again by pressing S and dragging the mouse to render the size to appropriate. Now, we just talked about how we can actually grab the corner here, and then it does it too. So if you don't want to hit S on the keyboard, and let's look at our camera view. Our camera view here allows us to, oh, I have to do this part, sorry. Allows us to actually resize it in front of the camera, okay? We'll move the camera a little bit later, but there we go right there. So it's a little bit bigger. Okay, and get out of camera view. All right, so zoom in a little bit here. All right, now let's go ahead and then add our snowman's head. Now we need to add the snowman's head. Add another UV sphere. If it looks like no new sphere has appeared, don't worry. You might not be able to see it because it is hidden inside the snowman's bottom. We need to drag it out. Select the move tool from the left, okay, and then the way we do it is we actually grab the blue one, and then the blue one will pull it right up using the Z axis, okay. So we drag it up, and then we resize it. It may look like this, which we're about to do this, and then we need to resize it so it does look like a snowman, okay? So let's go ahead, sorry. All right, so let's go ahead and let's add another. So let's go up here and say add mesh UV sphere, okay? And then we're going to click the move, and it should have what we just created highlighted already. So let's grab the blue, and then you should see it move up, okay? I think I grabbed the wrong one. Let's see. Let me use my select tool. Or if you need to make a different change, it'll actually list all the assets here. So that's the new one. That's the original one. If I click move, there we go. So it comes right out of there. We actually need to make it a little smaller, don't we? So let's go to scale, grab the edge, and use your camera views, because remember we are dealing with something in 3D. So use your camera views to make sure that it's sitting on top. Okay. Let's look at our camera view too. There we go. All right. So, did you get it? All right. The head may look a bit big, so let's shrink it down. Okay. Need to resize the object. Drag and move the mouse toward the center of the object to make it smaller. Render again to see what it looks like for our image. So let's do our render. All right, looks pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so if the head is too small or large, resize it to make it look right. The head might not be stuck into the snowman's bottom in the right position. Move the head up into the bottom using the handles, okay? Check what it looks like by doing the render image, for example. Okay, so we just did that and it looked pretty good. Mine's a little bit bigger than that. I might shrink it, we'll see. All right, so now let's add the snowman's nose. Now, usually a snowman's nose is made of a carrot. We'll use a cone for it. So anytime you learn anything about drawing or art, one of the things they say is to use simple shapes, okay? One of the big things is so that drawing circles, if you're going to draw something, you should really start with circles, maybe some squares or something, maybe a rectangle, simple shapes, and start from there. Well, believe it or not, the 3D does the same thing. We can import simple shapes and create complex, characters or Yeah, complex characters. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our cone. So let's go to Add drop-down menu and select Cone. Mesh from Selection. The cone will probably be added inside the bottom again. Okay, then we have to drag it up using the blue Move tool. Okay, so use the blue Move handle to move it up. It may be too big. Okay, now here's the tricky part. The cone might look too big to be the nose, so we need to resize it. Resize the cone either using the shortcut key S, which we talked about that, or the scaling tool. So the two things that we've already learned we're going to have to use to be able to get it there. Okay. Now, after we do that, we actually have to get it on the nose now, don't we? Or where the nose should be. After you have resized the cone, use the Move tool to shift it into the side of the snowman's head, just where the nose should be. Okay, there's our example. And kind of remember where your camera is too. Okay. So we get it here, and then we're actually going to be using our rotation tool. Okay. You need to rotate the nose. So let's go ahead and let's get it created, put out there. We'll move it, and then we'll talk about our rotation tool. All right, so let's do Add, Mesh, and we want Cone. All right, so we need to bring it up. So let's do our Move tool, and let's grab the blue. Oh, that looks like a really big hat, doesn't it? But is that what we want? No, we need to resize it. So let's go to our scale. And I'll tell you this, if you accidentally click something else and you haven't selected, just remember your clicking mostly is to select the different objects. So just go back and click it again. Okay. So here's my scale. Let's grab our the circle. Let's grab the circle to scale it down. All right, and we can move it down. Whoop. Meant to do the Move tool. Let's move it down here, and let's go back and see where our camera is. So if we click our camera view, now what I need to do is, hang on. So our camera's there. All right. I'm going to turn a little bit here. And let's then grab the red and then the blue, move it down. See where our camera view is. Maybe we move it over here. So it's kind of in the front. All right. Now we have to figure out how to turn it, don't we? Okay. Or let's see, where's our rotator? There it is. Words rotate. We click rotate, and then we actually can grab the different colors there and allow us to rotate it. Okay, and then go back to the Move tool. All right, let's do our 3D. Oh, see, sometimes with our view, it's not even in the right place. All right, so let's grab the green. And let's look at our movie view. We actually want him to be facing, so I might move him around a little bit here. And turn our camera. Let's see, rotate. So if I do that, yeah, there we go. That's more or less what we want. All right, so let's get it in place. And we have to move it out a little bit. And I'm actually going to, so we have it on there, but it looks really big, doesn't it? Okay, let's look at our camera. That'll be okay. All right, so if I go to my scale, let's see if we can kind of squish it a little bit to make it look more like a nose instead of a cone. Okay, so if I go to the scale and do the blue, I should be able to squish it down. There we go. Let's look at our 3D. You got to squish it from the other angle too. Let's see. No, I don't want to make like that. What do I want? Which one do I want? Whoop. No, that's the scale. Let's see if that's what I want. Yeah, it looks a little better. Don't like it being so wide though. Okay. I'll zoom in a little bit here. It looks like a icy container. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. So sometimes you just have to find the right place. So now it looks a little bit more like a carrot. Let's see our camera view. All right. So our carrot, let's move it up a little because it kind of feels like it's too low on the face. There we go. All right, so just kind of, there we are. That looks a little bit more like a carrot, doesn't it? A little bit more pointy than the one they have. So let's look at our camera view. Okay, that looks good. All right, so once we get our nose on there, we did our rotation. Make sure the nose cone is selected and select the rotation tool. And I just kind of squished it a little bit so it looked more like a carrot. You'll see arcs or little curves that you can use to manipulate and shape the nose. Use the curve, red, blue, or green that allow you to rotate the nose in the direction you want it to be. Switch back to the Move tool. Position the nose properly using the blue, green, and yellow handles. Now render and check how the snowman looks. Is the nose positioned properly? Does your model resemble a snowman? I think so. Now we're going to add the hat. Now let's add a hat to the snowman. The hat will be made from a cylinder. Add cylinder from the Add drop-down menu's Mesh section. The cylinder may be added inside the UV sphere. So once again, use the blue handle to move it upwards. So let's add our cylinder and we want to resize it, okay? And basically just move it into place. And once we get it on its head, resize the cylinder using the shortcut key S you can, or of course I show you through the resize and choose the circle, which is the same thing. Move the mouse towards the middle of the cylinder, making it smaller. Move the cylinder on the top of the snowman's head using the blue, green, and red move handles. Render to see what the snowman looks like, for example. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. And I'm going to hit Add, Mesh, Cylinder. And make sure we're on Move here, and we're going to drag the blue up. And if I look around, it should seem like it's this hat. That's a really big hat. All right, so let's make our hat smaller. Let's go to Scale. And remember, grab the circle, and it'll resize it. All right, let's try that. Let's go back to our Move tool, grab the blue, and put it right on top. All right, let's look at our camera view. Looks a little big. And then let's go up and let's do render. All right, What you think? I feel like his nose is a little too small. So I'm actually going to make that bigger. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Now, in one of the previous ones, and I think I may do that, I actually give the hat a brim, and it actually looks a little bit better. And it's very quick and easy. All we do is we do add, mesh, and we're going to do another cylinder, okay? This time when we grab the cylinder, we're going to drag it up, and then we're actually going to go to the scale, and this time we're going to grab the blue, and I'm going to move it up again, grab the blue, and I need to resize it so it's smaller, so let's do scale, basically till it just kind of looks like the brim of the hat, okay? So I think it gives a little bit more depth, and I don't think that's perfect, but let's see, scale or move. Let's see if I move it up a little more. I think that works pretty good. So doing a cylinder, making it smaller. Now, anytime we do any more than just a tutorial, we'll have to choose that and change the color on that as well, okay? But there's our snowman so far. And there's our camera view. All right, so what you think? We got a snowman, don't we? All right, now let's go ahead in our challenge, getting ready to give him color. What we're going to do is we're going to give the snowman some eyes, okay? We're not going to give him any arms because I do know the next tutorial he doesn't have arms, but he does have eyes and he does have the buttons, okay? So we definitely need to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm not sure how you would add a scarf. I'm trying to think about what shapes you could use to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to add the eyes. And I'm going to tell you a trick. So once you have the eyes the right size, one thing we can do is we can copy and then paste the eyes so they'll know that they're the exact right size, okay? So let's go ahead, let's do add, mesh, and then do sphere is what we want. No, I was thinking circle. We want to add a sphere, UV sphere. All right, so we want to drag it up. And this time we want to do the scale. We want to make it very small for his eyes. And I'm going to turn him here. Looks like our nose is a little bit off. Maybe we need to move it to the right a little bit. Let's see if that looks a little better. Yeah, I think it looks better. All right, what about our camera view? Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's grab the eyeballs here. And we need to move them here. So I'm going to get the nose in the left side here. So when I grab the green, and then we're going to grab the blue to move it down. Move around a little bit. Let's see about that. Yeah, what you think? Okay, now, since we've got the eye in there, might do the green to bring it out a little bit. It's got the eye in there. Let's right click and it's actually going to say duplicate objects, and just say duplicate object, and then boom, there'll be another one, and then it kind of floats around. Do you see that? And then we can kind of put it to where we want, left click, and then we can move around. I think I got to pull it out a little bit. There we go. See? It's exactly the right size. Okay. Now I kind of feel like, let's see, it still feels a little off in some way. So if I do that and then pull it out. Okay, so that feels like that's been properly set up. Zoom out a little bit and still kind of figuring out what we want to do here, because it looks all right, now let's look at that. I think that's a little bit more equal. So if we're looking at him in the front, his nose still feels like it's a little off, you know. There we go. Is that a little better? Let's see. We go up. We go out a little bit. To the right a little more. Let's see. Okay, I think that's good. All right, now let's do our zoom out. And I'm going to do my camera view. And let's go ahead and let's hit render. So we can see our render view. And what you think? There we go. We have our snowman, don't we? Okay, now let's go ahead and we're actually going to add our buttons to his jacket. So we can just kind of click the eye, right click, and say duplicate object. Okay, and we're going to put one here, and I'm actually going to make it smaller. So I'm going to do scale, a little bit smaller, and then let's move down there. I want to kind of have it lined up. Nope, sorry. Back to move. Let's see if that is in the proper area here. Nope, see, it's not even on his shirt. Doop, just a little bit there. Now let's see if that's lined up properly. Kind of. Let's see. All right, so now I think we're starting to get there. So let's right click, let's do duplicate again, duplicate object, and now we have another one. And then right click and duplicate object, so we have a third one. Okay, now the goal is to kind of make it look like, of course, it's buttons on his jacket. So that is, hold on. Nope, I had the wrong one. There we go. Let's see. Is it so it's not even really touching his jacket, so let's move it in a little bit. And that one there is not sticking out. There we go. And that one's there is not sticking out either. Okay, so make sure you can see the buttons. It's just not really lined up very well. Let's see. All right, now let's see. Yeah, see? As you get here, and then you move it. So sometimes it's just playing around with it until you get it the way you think it, so it looks okay. And that's kind of not sticking out enough. And that's sticking out a little too much. All right, now let's look. Oh, it's still not lining up, is it? It's not. All right. Well, he is a snowman. So maybe he's melting a little bit. All right, I think that was looking good. If not, just keep playing around with it till you get it the way that you want. Okay, so let's look at our camera view here. There we go. Now, one of the things is if your camera is not in the right place, we can move it around a little bit. Okay, so if we have, let's get out of camera view, and I'm going to zoom out. And if we select our camera, we can actually choose, make sure we have it selected. So just like any object that you've already made, you can select the camera and move it around a little bit. So I actually want to move it up. So up just a little bit, and then look at our camera angle. Up a little bit, camera angle. How about that? And maybe even, there you go, a little bit more. I think it looks pretty good. All right, so let's go to our render and our final here, and then we'll start talking about giving him color. So there we go. There's our snowman. Okay. Here's your camera view. There's your render. Right now it actually just has some basic shadows. Okay. But there you go. All right, now let's go ahead and let's go to our next tutorial. Like I said, we're not going to give him arms because the next tutorial doesn't have arms on him, okay? All right, so let's go to our color a snowman. It's the UK, so I know they spell color a little different. Don't let that throw you off. Learn how to color a 3D model of a snowman using Blender. What will we make? Okay. What you will make, excuse me. What you will make. Here's how your finished piece will look. So there he is. We're going to give him the black coals, black eyes, green hat, and of course make his body white as snow. All right, so let's color the hat. You will start with the snowman that you created if you've completed the snowman resources. If you don't have a snowman, you can download the project here. So you technically could start your project here. On its head, the snowman has a hat. Let's try and make it green. Render the image by pressing F12. Okay. Or you can click render, which we've already done, so we won't do that right now. If you look at what your camera sees, the snowman looks entirely gray, for example. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to select the hat. Okay. We're going to actually create a material. Okay. So we're going to select the hat and select where it says materials. It'll be here on the right side. It'll say material properties from the icon menu on the right panel. We're going to click where it says new material by clicking the new button. All right, so let's do that. So we need to zoom in and everything. Let's click the hat. Let's go down here to the right side where it says material properties. Okay. Click that. And then let's click where it says new. New. All right, next. After we click new, name the material green hat by typing the name in the box. So we will click where it says materials and say green hat and hit enter. All right, now we called it green hat. Below, go to the base color and click the white box. A color pattern, which is where it says base color right here. A color palette will appear where you can select a nice green color. Okay. All right, so let's go to, it says base color and click here. And then we kind of choose our green. See how it's changing? Now, one of the things is if you have it on the baseline, the mesh, or if you have it on just the shading, it won't actually reflect when we do our colors, but if you have it on where it has viewpoint shading, boom, it's going to allow us to do that. So, oh, well, that would have been, okay. I can see now why a lot of that was a little bit difficult to put the buttons in there, because if I did have it on the viewpoint shading, well, hang on. I guess these are just different modes of viewpoint shading. Anyway, if I had it on the gray, it would have been a lot more clear to see where the shapes were and everything. So I probably should have set that when I was trying to put the snowman together. But now we can put it on where it gives a little bit of a preview. Okay, so let's go back to our colors here. And we're changing here so we can actually see. We want it to be kind of a dark green. Now, if the green's not dark enough for what you want, kind of put it on a green here, and then realize you can change the brightness here. So you can choose a green and then go here and choose kind of a dark green. Should be able to pretty much do any color you want here, because this goes all the way down to even black too. So look at our render real quick. So there you go. So it looks a little bit darker on there. Okay. All right, so the color choices might look too bright green for your liking. If you would prefer a darker green, then you can decrease the amount of intensity, and that's what I showed you right here. Okay. The base color, again, by clicking the color box, lower the dots on the right bar on the color palette towards the black color, you'll see the green gets darker. Okay. Now render your image, okay, to see what it looks like, which we did. Now you can see the snowman now has a green hat. Yay, he's got a green hat. Exit the render view. The view the color on the snowman in 3D view, click the viewport shading button, which we talked about too. Okay. All right, so since we have our snowman with their hat, now we actually have a brim, so we have to do this one extra step. So let's click our brim. Okay. And then let's go down here. We actually do not have to say new because we already gave a color to the hat. We actually want to click this, make sure you're on the where it says material properties here. Click the little drop down here and you should see one called green hat. Click green hat and then boom, it should change. Now the thing is what we're going to be doing, oh, and I just found out that that brim is too low. I actually need to move it up. So move it up a little. There we go. Perfect. So now, there we go. I actually really like the extra little brim there. I think it gives it more of an outline than just a cylinder. But, you know, we're just kind of doing an introduction here. Okay, so is it looking pretty good? I think so. All right, now let's go to our next part. Let's work on the eyes, okay? In this step, you will be coloring an eye. Select one of the eyes by clicking on it. You can make sure that the eye is selected by clicking whether there's an orange border surrounding it, okay? As the hat, just as a hat, go to Material Properties tab on the right hand panel and press New to create a new material for the eye. Name the material Coal, okay? So let's select the eye, go to Select, and then let's make sure we're on the Material Properties and let's click New and let's click Material and call it Coal. Okay. Enter. And then let's click the base color and let's make it black for coal. There we go. Perfect. And there you go. Underneath, select the base color. You will need to see that there is no black on the color palette. However, if you can drop the intensity moving Alt dot all the way down until you get to black. Now you have black coal eyes. Okay. The rest of the snowman still is gray. The render image, you will look like this. Okay. So if we do our render, click render, render. You know, or hit F12. There you go right there. Nice brim. Okay, we have our eye. Everything else is kind of gray. All right, so let's go to our next part. Whoop. Let's see, render the image to see what it looks like. Color the eyes and the buttons. To color the other eye and each of the buttons, you could go through the whole process of adding a new material for each, but this would be quite cumbersome. It's much easier to reuse the material that you have already made, so let's reuse the coal material, the color, the other eye, and the buttons. Okay. Select the other eye, click Materials. Instead of selecting New, click the drop down menu, which is what we did with the brim, and then select coal and it will change it. Okay. Repeat this process for each of the snowman's buttons. Select the button and then click on the Material Properties tab to select the coal material. Render the image again. You will see that the snowman now has black buttons and black eyes. Okay. Alright, so let's choose to select that. And then let's click this. Make sure you're on the Material Properties. Okay. If if I click the drop down arrow here and choose where it says coal, boom, it switched it. So let's go ahead and let's just do that for each part. Coal. And there we go. Now let's look at our render. I think he's looking rather dapper. There we go. Oh, but his nose. Oh no, the nose. Only the nose knows. All right, let's color the nose. The snowman's nose will be orange. As you don't yet have an orange material, you will need to make a new color. Okay, select the nose, go to the material properties. Let's click new and then say, call it carrot. Okay, so let's select the nose. Let's select new. Let's click where it says material 1. Then type in carrot. All right, now select the base color and pick a nice orange color if necessary. Drop the intensity to get a nice carrot-like shade. All right. So let's go ahead and let's click the base color here. And let's see if we can kind of course, we're getting our preview because we do have it on this shader here. Ah, look at that. And that's doing right about good right there. All right, and then let's do our render. Look at that. Mr. Snowman. It's looking like a Mr. Snowman now, isn't he? All right, so render your image. There you go. All right, now we have a challenge, okay? When you're in 3D view, you'll notice that the sphere makes up the bottom and the head of the snowman are gray and not white, okay? See if you can use what you have learned to color the snowman's head and body white, okay? To make the color white, you need to drag the dot on the slider all the way to the top, okay? So let's see if we can do it. I think I know how to do it. Let's see. So let's select the head, and then we'll go down to, of course, make sure it says material properties. Let's click new, and I'm going to call it snow. Let's go down to our base color, and I guess make it kind of white. Snow is a little bit off-white sometimes. It's very, very like a clean. All right, so let's then choose the body, do our drop down, and then choose snow. There we go. It got a little brighter, didn't it? Now let's look at our render. There we go. There's our snowman. How about that? Now we're actually messing around with our camera a little bit, okay? With our lighting a little bit, I think. We'll learn how to move our lighting around. All right, so we have our render, and we've actually completed their challenge as well. So let's just kind of play around a little bit here. and then we'll finish up class. One of the previous ones, I actually built a house behind him. But let's go ahead and let's mess around with our lighting a little bit too. So we have our general lighting. If you want to see what your lighting is, you can go up here and click light. Okay. And then you have all your lighting properties. The color of the lighting, what kind of lighting it is. Right now it's a point. You can change it to sun, spot. But when we actually render, it gives a bit of shadow. And maybe we don't want that. So let's see if we can move our lighting around a little bit and we can see our different views. So if I do my view out, remember I told you that here's our camera, okay, and here's our lighting. So if we actually click our lighting, hold on, try to do that. Oh, I guess I already have it selected, sorry. So how do I move it around? Well, just like you would a normal object. So let's go to our move. And then let's see if we can get the right angle here. So my goal is to kind of move it this way. So it looks like it won't have as much of a shadow. Let's see, where is that? Or at least change our shadow, I guess you could say. Bring it down a little more. And there's our camera view, of course. All right, now let's do our render and see what that looks like. Aha! I think that looks better. Now we just kind of have a shadow of the outside of the snowman. Okay. But we actually have it a lot better here too. Now it does seem a little dark still. We can actually change the power here. So if I change it to, let's see, if I added a 5 in there, what would that do? Let's look and see. I think that brightened it up a little bit. So there's kind of our final. There's his shadow of his nose. So it kind of looks like we're outside with the shadow and everything. Okay, just remember that if you can do image, you can go up here and click save as, and then you can of course save your project as an image or anything like that. You can add more sources of light if you want to, and like I said earlier, you could actually create more projects and stuff too. But mainly we've actually completed our 2 tutorials, so I guess we'll go ahead and start wrapping up class here with our Mr. Snowman. I've enjoyed these projects. I hope that you have. We'll probably be adding some other Blender projects coming up next year as well. Also, don't forget that we actually have our project where we're actually going to be doing animating a snow scene at 2:30 today. So that'll actually be our last class of 2020. So come join me for that. And we do need to save our last snowman, so I'm going to do File, Save As, and we're going to call it, how about Snowman 3? I'll actually open up the other one I did. So I do File, Open. This is the one I did in the last class that we did, where he actually has a house behind him, and kind of the idea, and all I did was it's just squares, and I turned one of the squares so it had actually had a roof on the house. Okay, and we added a square here, and I added a circle there, and kind of made it a carrot like. And if we look at our camera view, there's our view, and the idea was it was a snowman taking a selfie of him and his new house. Okay, and if we do our render, there it is right there. There's your render right there, and it's a little bit off, kind of on purpose. Okay. So definitely feel free to play around with this. You've learned the basics already, and like I said, come at our 2:30 class, or if you're watching this on a previous thing, then just look for the next class that we have up there, which will be animating a snow scene. We'll be following that tutorial as well. So let's say goodbye to Mr. Snowman. Bye-bye, Mr. Snowman. Hope you enjoyed this class. I know I did. And like I said, I've included all of that stuff actually in the links here, so you can actually follow those tutorials if you want to. They're presented by the Raspberry Pi Foundation, so it's actually listed on the Raspberry Pi projects, and they're a lot of fun, like I said. So don't forget to come to our class this afternoon at 2:30. We're going to be doing a holiday 3D Blender animating a snow scene. So join me for that. That's actually the only time we'll actually be doing that class this month. So come join me. And after that, I'll see you next month. Like I said, keep an eye out for our classes for January and for our January schedule. And when things are safer, we'll actually start doing some on-ground classes at our library again as well. But that'll be in the future. All right, now, of course, we're going to be staying safe and everything, and keeping you safe as well by doing our virtual classes. So please tell a friend, a family member, a neighbor about our online classes. Also the online story time and things like that as well. So just a little side note, our libraries have limited services and hours. Some of our libraries are actually recently expanding their hours, so just check their website for that. Of course, curbside holds pickup is available. You can go to gchrl.org for details, or call in the library with questions Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a big thumbs up or like if you like our videos. Of course, our numbers do count, and actually that'll encourage us to have what classes that folks like to come see, what classes people are sharing for our future. Don't forget to, if you are looking for our channel, all you need to do is go to YouTube and search for GCHRL videos, and it'll pull right up, okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope to see you guys at 2:30. If not, I will see you guys in 2021, okay? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and all that kind of good stuff. Stay safe. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.